Yeah. I like magic. There's a guy, I saw a thing where a guy gives away I always like close-up magic. And then there's a video now on like a YouTube short where the guy's showing all the tricks. And I'm like, don't do that. You're ruining it. One time I worked with this guy in Vegas. What was his name? Matt King.
You're not supposed to do that. That's against the code. They'll cut your thumbs off for that.
Hey, Jimmy, have you ever gone to that Magic Castle in L.A.?
I certainly have. I have some fun stories about it.
My cousin is a member because he's like an amateur magician. So he took us there when we were last in L.A. And yeah, it was fun. You
have to wear a suit coat still.
Yeah, it's dress code. Yeah.
Yeah, which I like. Keeps out the riffraff. And it was funny. I like to go in the small rooms. I went to a bunch of different rooms. I went there with Jenk and Ben Mankiewicz one time.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
Yeah, that must have been fun.
It was magical.
Thank you for the Magic Castle. It was a little stressful because there are a lot of lines to catch the shows, and the theaters are so small. So like it's a lot of like line jumping. Like, oh, quick, we got to run upstairs to get on this line because they only seat 20 for the card show or whatever. But it was fun. It was cool.
Close-up magic.
I realized that it turns out there's hacky magicians just like there's hacky comedians. And they all do. There's a lot of them do the same tricks, and they do the same jokes. And so I went into this one room, and it had like stadium seating, but there was only like maybe 40 people in it. And in the back row you stood. So I was there, and I was standing in the back row. And this guy comes out to do the magic, and he's limping. And he said, "I apologize for my limp. I was coming out of an IHOP this morning, and I blew out my ankle stepping off a curb." And okay. And then he says, "Hi, I need a volunteer." Now I'm already a professional comedian at that time. And he says, he points to me, he goes, "Hey sir, why don't you?" And I go, "No, you don't, I don't." And, 'cause I don't have to play along with this show. And, he's like, "Oh, come on." And he gets, and so then I don't want to be that guy either, who I'm like, I'll be a stick in the mud. Yeah. So I go up there and I'm standing there, and then he does this trick, which I had seen two other guys that night do, where he says to the lady, says, "Oh, that's a beautiful diamond ring. Can I have that diamond ring?" And he takes it and he puts it in his pocket. He goes, "Oh, it's back on your finger." And the crowd goes, "Oh," and the lady says, "No, it's not." And the guy says, "Yeah, but I could do that. That'd be a great trick, huh?" And that's like a line that I had already heard two times. That same thing I'd seen twice already that night. And so I couldn't bite my tongue. And I go, he goes, "Yeah, but if I could do that, it was a great trick." I go, "No, if you could do that, you wouldn't be eating at IHOP." Yeah. And I got a huge laugh. And I had stolen this show from him. And he looked at me and goes, "Oh, you're really funny. I bet you're really funny at work, aren't you?" And I go, "Yeah, I am. And it turns out I'm pretty funny at your work, too." And another big laugh. And oh, boy, he couldn't get me the hell off that stage fast enough. So, yeah, but I do enjoy going there. I do enjoy magic. But Cenk Uygur he took it a little too serious. "You're sawing her in half. You're an animal." Anyway. But I worked with this guy, Matt King, and he did this one trick. And I shouldn't have said his name. Shit. I don't want to tell you how he does the trick. But he used to have this trick where he would bring somebody out of the audience, and he would say, before he let him go, he goes, "Hey, you know what? Tell me what's your favorite drink?" And the guy would say, a Bud Light or whatever. And he would go up, and he would make a Bud Light appear. And every night I'm like, "How do you do that?" And he would go, "Jimmy, you don't want to know." And I was like, "I really do want to know." And he wouldn't let me. He wouldn't tell me. And then so the last night, I don't know how I got him to do it, but he finally. And now I feel like a jerk because I can't tell, because I don't want to give his trick away. But he told me, and I was like, "That's how you do it?" I'm like, "Oh God, I have no respect for you." He's like, "Yeah, I know. I know you didn't want to know." You do not want to know how they do it. It's.
Oh, I do though. I mean, I know you can't say it now because people are watching. Maybe you could tell Russ when he's there, and Russ can text me, and then I can throw my phone away. I'll smash my phone under a rock after he texts me. But because the mind reading stuff is always what gets me. like the David Blaine stuff.
Yeah.
Like that always is what freaks me out.
Oh yeah, the mentalist stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like the dollar bill in the orange. You figure, okay, I mean, it's impressive that you got the dollar bill in the orange, but I know you just stuffed the dollar bill in the orange somehow. Like there's a mystery. I mean, it's an impressive physical feat to do that, but I understand that's what you must have done. The mental stuff is crazy.
Yeah, and when they're sawing the girl in half, she actually literally does have her legs scrunched up into one box.
Yeah.
That's how
Well,
that's actually how they
everyone kind of knows how that's done at this point.
I didn't.
I was working a cruise ship one time, and which I got fired from, and a juggler. And the juggler told me I don't know, I think I might have insulted him. I'm like, well, you're just like magicians, right, or whatever. And comedians don't have much respect for any of those things, and but I do. And he told me, he said, if I wasn't a juggler, he says most magicians, if they weren't magicians, would be car salesmen, but most jugglers would be mathematicians. And I was like, I really? And then you think about it, like most magicians I knew would be salesmen, that's for sure. But anyway, yeah, got fired from that gig. Anyway,
you were bothering the juggler too much. What?
I said some shit during the show you're not supposed to say. Anyway, so but I wasn't made for cruise ships. It worked out for me, though. Anyway, who cares? This isn't a podcast. Because I just watched that Naiad starring, what's her name?
Annette Bening.
Annette Bening. Have you guys seen
and
that?
And Jodie Foster.
I didn't see it.
Oh, boy, you got to see it.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix.
That woman is, in the best way possible, she is a beast of all beasts. So when she was 28, she was an Olympic swimmer. She tried to swim from Cuba to Florida, right? She couldn't do it. She didn't do it. She turned 60. She gets a bug up her ass. I think I could do it. What? Do you know how long you have to swim? You know how long it takes to swim from Cuba to Florida?
What is that about?
I'm going to say a week.
It takes 60 hours of nonstop swimming. So that's 2.5 days nonstop swim. 2.5 days.
I can't do anything for 2.5 days.
2.5 days. How do you, without the sleep? For 2.5 days, I'd be going crazy. And then she gets stung by jellyfish.
It's quite a feat.
It is
So 60 hours. That's what is 100 miles, 90 miles. It's a little less than 100 miles.
I think it's a little less than 100 miles. Yeah. And she did, and she decides to do it when she's 60. And she does it. I don't want to ruin the movie, but it's already was a news story, so it's not like we don't know how the movie ends. But she does it. Anyway, I can't wait to meet her. And they had.
So she's coming to your show.
We should try to get her.
Okay.
Try to get her to the show. Yeah, I'm gonna try to get her. But there was a party. They threw a party. But I was sick. I couldn't go, and she was there. I was so bummed. I wanted to meet her. There's so few people I still want to meet. I would like to meet her.
A lot of the people I wanted to meet are dead now.
Yeah. I got to meet Russ and Keaton, so that worked out.
Yep.
Those are big days of my life.
We're still kicking.
Yeah.
That was the high point, right?
Yeah.
It's all been downhill from
It's
there.
all been downhill. All right, everybody check out Due Dissidence. They're on YouTube, they're on Rockfin. And Russ actually writes articles at Substack. No kidding. If you feel like reading,
I have one.
Yeah, come read.
About to drop. You're gonna love, Jimmy.
What is it?
I started this and stopped it many times. My analysis of what the hell happened to the art scene and how it all went MSNBC shitlib.
Boy, did it. My quick analysis would be they tricked people into thinking fighting Trump was fighting Hitler and Nazism and fascism, and it's not. You're actually fighting on behalf of fascism and the corporation, and that's the weird thing. They got tricked. The corporation tricked them. right?
Well, I think it's something Catherine Liu, your great guest, got into in her book. The PMCs used to have better values. The PMCs used to be more grounded in FDR, New Deal, class consciousness.
Right.
Even though they were the professional class, they saw part of their duty as being to help the working class and to be very conscious of the nobility of labor and to help labor. So the artists are basically PMCs, they've always been PMCs.
Professional tell people what that means, PMC.
The professional managerial class. And, you have these in every society. The Romans called them the equestrian class. They're the petite bourgeoisie. They're the people who are under the elites, but above the working class. And they have this makes them very easy to control because they have just enough to have something to lose and not enough to be able to take a stand. So you had this moment where the society was oriented more around FDR kind of ideas, and that was their orientation. And so at that time, the artists were better. They were better because the PMCs were better. Now that the PMCs have just become Trump deranged, MSNBC addled shit libs, so have the artists. But when you look at an arts community like that, it's doubly pointless because what the hell are you there for? You're supposed to be a dissenting voice. You're supposed to be somebody questioning things like, what is your purpose? Why are you there? What are you doing?
So when I saw comedians become the COVID narrative enforcer of the establishment, that's
all the worst comedians I know were in the arts.
Yes, and they still are. Like we were.
Yep.
Did I tell you this? So Steph likes Billy Crudup, and we saw him last time we went to New York. By the way.
Okay.
And we bumped into him at a place having tea, and but he's doing a play up here, one person up in Berkeley, and Steph was going to go see it, so she looked up masks required. Boo! Masks required in 2023. Masks required.
Wow, they don't even do that on Broadway anymore.
Yeah, that's insane.
Well, good.
No, you know what really killed me? All of these artists I saw were crazy for canceling Joe Rogan. They were all celebrating Neil Young. They were all applauding Neil Young for taking this brave stance.
Yeah.
Like how the fuck do you become a pro-censorship artist? How does that even happen? Much less for that to be seemingly a majority.
Because they have nothing to say.
That would take that position.
It's not just music that has nothing in the lyrics. It's the comedy. It's it's nothing.
Yep.
They have nothing to say.
Yep.
The comedy sucks. At least I saw Bill Burr on Jimmy Kimmel kind of stick it to him the other night. I don't know if you saw that. Oh, I should have played that on the show.
I didn't see it. I like him though.
Maybe we play it Saturday.
What's that?
Maybe play it Saturday.
Oh, maybe I will play it Saturday. He said, yeah, you guys got a problem with that Donald Trump. Why don't you quit fucking talking about him? That's all you do. You can't stop fucking talking about him. That's everything. Oh, you liberals. He said liberals. Oh, you liberals. He said it right to Jimmy Kimmel. Why don't you quit fucking talking about him? Shut up. Just shut up.
Wow.
Good for him.
Yeah. So
it's so boring. And yeah, that's what you mean. They have nothing to say except just satisfy the audience, right? Like they exist to satisfy the audience right now. They exist to reassure the audience that they're good and smart and correct. And that's the death of art when you exist to satisfy the audience. You're supposed to surprise the audience. You're supposed to challenge the audience. Sometimes you're supposed to alienate the audience a little bit, You're supposed to lose audience a little while, every once in a while. But yeah, it's easy and it's lazy.
They're afraid they're going to get canceled. I saw somebody I used to run a theater with. He got in the New York Times for fringe festivals. The ethos of a fringe festival is you're supposed to put on whatever you pulled out of the hat. It's like a lottery system.
Oh, really?
And that's part of the charm of it. You could get great shows alongside the most awful things you've ever seen. It's actually a rule. There's an international body of fringe festivals, and to qualify to be able to call yourself a fringe festival, that's how you're supposed to do it, to officially be a fringe festival. And he decided not to allow one of the shows that won based on the rules of fringe festivals because the guy was questioning gender ideology. He was like a British comedian who had written kind of limericks and poems questioning gender ideology, and he canceled it. And the New York Times, of course, wrote a very supportive article, and he's sitting there going, well, it was just a no-brainer. We have queer people and trans people on our staff and involved, and of course we can't have this on a stage. And it just made me want to vomit to see that. Like, how did we get here? Like, what are you doing? What function are you serving? And it's not even like, not that I still wouldn't think it was justified, but I looked at this guy's work. It was pretty innocuous. Like, it wasn't like some kind of vicious attack. The guy was raising to my mind, were very appropriate questions. But you've got these artists who, even if they think differently, they get canceled. So they can't speak. There's no opportunity to get that momentum. And you probably have this experience. I have this experience. They're like living in the underground. Like, I have people DM me all the time thanking me for saying what they can't say, who are still in the arts. They can't say it because they're afraid they're going to get canceled. It's not that there are no artists who think this way. They can't get a platform.
It's just the craziest thing to see the way the Nazification of the arts is what I've, the narrative enforcers, how you can't step out of line, you can't be a dissenting voice. And if you go against the liberal orthodoxy, you are immediately cast out. You're a Trumper. Yep. You're a white supremacist. You're all this stuff. No, they're just dissenting from the establishment narrative. And there was a time I grew up in it when gay people were second-class citizens. They couldn't get married.
Sure.
They could lose their job. They could lose their housing. They were discriminated against.
It wasn't that long ago Obama didn't want to give them equal rights.
That's right. It wasn't that. But those days,
Hillary.
But there are people still operating today as if it's 25 years ago, and gay people still are fighting for equality. Those days are over. Those days are over. For sure, they're over. That's how I look at it, by the way. That's my opinion. And there isn't... So this hyper-focus on LGBTQ... as now it's more of a narrative enforcer, and if you dissent from anything that the LGBTQ says, you're now cast out. It's the opposite. They became the oppressor in a sense. Does that go ahead?
Yeah, that's what Glenn Greenwald said in an interview around Pride Month. He said, as a gay man myself, the gay struggle was always about was always based on a sort of liberal, sort of universalist ideal, which is that gay people want to integrate into society and be free to live how everybody else lives, right? It was a very live and let live sort of movement. And now it seems to be the opposite of that. Now it seems to be a movement that insists on conformity, which is the opposite of live and let live.
That's basically, I can't. Well, I'm proud that I came to. Go ahead.
As Catherine Liu points out in her book, and as I've been arguing for a long time as well, this is intentional because they want you fighting over absurdities so that you can't really get together and attack the system itself.
Yeah, the whole idea that there are male and females is being challenged.
Right, of course.
That very idea is and I'm sorry, that is mental.
This guy who got his Fringe show pulled, that's all he was doing. That's all he was doing. It wasn't like some kind of vicious diatribe, which even that would raise questions given the idea behind the Fringe of freedom of speech. But even so, setting that aside, what he was saying was just that. In a funny, humorous way, he was questioning these ideas with kind of like poetry and limericks. No, we can't have that. That's hateful. Come on.
South Park did they do something, a parody on Disney recently?
They did. We covered that actually into the Panderverse. that was covering, I mean, basically how Disney got overrun by this stuff. And I get into this in my article as well. I think there's an element of it with artists that this was very appealing to them because it gave them a way to say their work is good without it actually being good. Because you can just adhere to a set of ideological ideas and principles, and then you get to say it's good. And anyone who says it isn't good, they're an ist or a foe. Right? It gives you this framework to defend yourself against accusations of your work being bad. So Disney's just been overrun by these maniacs, probably because they were trying to boost their ESG scores. That's a whole other thing, trying to bring in Vanguard and BlackRock to invest in companies that are socially progressive. But it backfired on them because it's destroyed their entire company. So South Park did a thing. Basically, the line that really came out of that was Cartman in an alternate universe is Kathleen Kennedy, and her answer to every problem is put a chick in it, make her gay.
Yeah. So we went to see, last time we were in New York City, we went to see Some Like It Hot, which won the Tony. For I don't know what they won it for, but they won a Tony maybe. And if you know the basis of that movie is that the premise of that movie is men dressed up as women, and it's funny.
Right. Yeah.
It's funny that there are men wearing dresses. It's funny.
Right.
And I was like, oh, how are they getting away with this? Well, they had one guy was black, so that helped them, right?
Right. Yeah.
But I was like, because that is funny when a guy's wearing a dress and you can tell it's a guy, it's funny, right? So, and I say that about trans women. Like if you're dressed up in a dress, but and you look like a woman, that's great, good for you. You pulled it off. But if you look like you're ready to play middle linebacker and carry a fridge up 3 flights of stairs, that's always going to be funny. A gorilla riding a tricycle is always going to be funny, even if the gorilla is trans.
Well, here's how you know that the arts have just really jumped the shark. Here's how you know it's all gone to hell. Like in the 90s, you used to see things on TV in the 90s, and you would say, wow, they could have never done this in the 50s. Now you watch old TV episodes from the 90s, and you say, wow, they could never do this today.
Do this now. Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's that
great example.
The Kids in the Hall sketch, right?
Well, the great example of it is All in the Family, a show that was very based in a liberal ethos, but you could not in a million years do All in the Family today. You could never do that show today.
I agree. I watched the documentary on that. Boy, wasn't all shits and giggles on that set. That's all I'm saying. And it took for years for that show to come to fruition, based on a British show, by the way. Did you know that?
Yeah.
I did. Yeah. Anyway, anything else you want to say? Anything before we go? Okay. All right. But so we should all read Russ's Substack on the death of the arts. Is that what it's called?
We have. I usually Keaton is a master of giving things a title. I usually don't even bother anymore because his title is going to be so much better than what I come up with.
Yeah, well, you got to get your final draft to me, and then we'll drop it later in the week, probably Thursday, I guess, right?
Oh, okay. So you're still writing this? Okay. Yeah. I look forward to it.
In the works.
Well, I just sent him a draft for feedback. It's a long one though, so poor guy.
All right, everybody, check out Due Dissidence. Thanks for coming on, fellas. Don't forget, Russ will be in here filling in January 8th through the next week too. So 2 weeks starting January 8th to the 22nd, right? Yeah, that's it.
All right.
Something like that.
That's the first I hear.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't tell you? Yeah, I'm going up to do I'm going to do a show with Rob Snyder up in Northern California that Friday.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. Come see us do a live stand-up show. We'll be in Venice, California, Palmdale, California, Omaha, Des Moines, Milwaukee, Lansing, Bend, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, Boston, Massachusetts, and we're going to Europe. Do you live in Europe? We're going to be there. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.